It is titled, Am I the Asshole for Calling My Friend an Idiot for Wanting a Maternity Test?
How long ago was this posted?
This one has been posted on 2/23/2022, so
I was like within the last
a year
and a half.
Yeah, a year
or so.
before Jerry Springer died.
Oh, R.I.P.
My friend Dan recently found out he might be a father. I say might because the girl he's been having an on/off relationship with, Kara, is pregnant, and he's not sure if he's the dad. She offered to get a paternity test once the baby is born and doesn't expect any kind of support until they find out if the baby is his. He's on board with that and appreciates that she's not pushing him into fatherhood if the baby isn't his.
Yeah, that's respectful.
The issue is that when he was talking to me about it, he also said he wants to get a maternity test done to make sure the baby is hers. Kara is visibly pregnant. We know she's pregnant because she did a maternity photo shoot and posted it on social media, so it's obvious she's not faking being pregnant. We've both seen her in person too, and she's most definitely pregnant. However, Dan believes that the baby might not be hers. I tried to explain to him that that's not how biology works.
I was going to say, I might call him an idiot. I mean, Jesus.
And unless she got an embryo implanted in her, she's definitely the mother.
Yeah.
She's a waitress and works for minimum wage plus tips, so I doubt she has the money to afford embryo implantation. Plus, it's ridiculous to think that she'd do all of that just to baby trap a guy who is unemployed and living with his parents at 32.
Oh, these people brought the Carfax.
Plus, he's never donated sperm. He's genuinely convinced that the baby might not biologically be hers, despite not only me, his mom, and our other friends explaining that that's not how babies/pregnancy work.
Denial is a river in Egypt.
He's still insisting on a maternity test and told me that I was being ridiculous and that I'm the one who doesn't understand biology, despite me studying to be an autopsy pathologist, which has required quite literally years of biology classes.
Ooh.
I got fed up and called him a senseless idiot and told him to call me when he got his head screwed up back on straight.
Period.
Ever since then, he's been spamming my phone and has gotten a couple of our friends to spam me as well, telling me I'm being insensitive and he's just stressed about possibly being a dad. So, am I the asshole for... It is titled, I carried my own poop in my bag for nearly 10 miles.
Holy shit. Wow. What an interesting time to take a sip of a freshly opened LaCroix.
When I, 23 female, was 18, I had a summer job working as a cashier at a large supermarket. I spent most of my nights at my boyfriend's parents' home in a smaller town about a 20-minute drive away. And one morning, he wanted to wake and bake, and he didn't have work until the evening. And as I didn't have work until just after midday, I thought, fuck it. I'm going to do what Chris did and take a hit in the studio. We hit the bong and then went to the kitchen to have a full English breakfast. As I was finishing off my baked beans, I saw the time and realized I had just over 10 minutes to get the bus home and in time for work. So I ran to get my things and quickly used the bathroom. Turns out I needed the biggest shit of my life, which was refusing to flush down his tiny ass toilet. I was running out of time till my bus, and I had to think fast. My first thought was to wrap it in a toilet roll, which was a huge fail as it just absorbed the water and stuck to the poo. Yes, I had to pick it up with my hands.
He will live to regret cheating on me. Story time. So I was with this boy for 2 years before he cheated on me at a party. He had gone to this party with all of his guy mates and I decided to stay at home and study. I'd like to think that I'm quite a trusting, non-controlling type of girlfriend. So I have no issues with him going out with his boys. Thankfully, a girl in my class was at the same party that my boyfriend was at. And at like 1:30 in the morning, she sends me a video of my boyfriend dancing with this other girl. Then the video just progressively gets so much worse. He starts kissing her and then she starts to lead him away. Bless, this girl was so apologetic. She kept apologising for not stepping in and stopping him. I just kept saying that this is his true colours coming out, so there was no way of stopping him. I was collecting receipts. The next morning rolls round and he comes over to my dorm. He's a little bit more lovey-dovey than he normally is. But I was not holding back. I confronted him about what had happened the night before. And I tried to give him the chance to tell me the truth. I tried hinting that, oh, but like my friend from class saw you there, like how was the night? And still, he gave me nothing, so I whipped out the big guns. And I have never seen anyone dive off the deep end with excuses quicker than this boy. He was saying, oh, it was just a mistake, I was drunk, I didn't do anything with her, I just kissed her. I was having absolutely none of it. So at that point, I took myself over to his dorm and I took back everything that I'd left there, everything he had given me. And whilst I was bagging up my stuff, he was begging me not to leave. So once I returned home, that is when I started planning my revenge. So he comes from a really religious family. So much so that relations before marriage is off the cards. Containing any sort of substance is a no-no. And he heavily relied on his parents to pay for his college, any spending money he needs. And he didn't have a job, so he was reliant on them for money. So I started to compile some pictures of my boyfriend together. There is pictures of him smoking with his friends, a video of us doing shots in New York, him chugging a beer whilst playing beer pong, and then for the grand finale I finished with the video of him cheating on me. I then sent a copy of this video to his parent, to his auntie, and then just about anyone else who held authority over him and his family. The results came in quick and they were immaculate. Literally that day he was pulled from university and he was forced back home under a state of house arrest. And he was only allowed to leave the house to go to his community college classes that he'd enrolled in. And he just completely lost the ability to have any form of fun whilst at college. I know this because one of his old guy mates actually angrily messaged me. He said how it was my fault that I ruined their plans to get an apartment next year. I mean, to this day, I have absolutely no regrets. It was so easy, he just should never have lied. And that is why cheaters should be shown absolutely no mercy. My 19-year-old sister is marrying her high school teacher. Story time. So my sister is 19 and she is marrying her 36-year-old high school teacher. And this is all happening in a few days' time and everyone around me just seems to be okay with it. So for some context, she graduated about a year ago and they told us they were dating almost immediately after she graduated. But I tell you, I was shooketh to the core. I was looking around me thinking surely everyone else is losing it. But no. Everyone was so supportive and seemed so happy for them. The teacher, who we'll call Steve obviously, divorced his wife about a year ago. And after that, he started to pay attention to my sister, who we'll call Amy. He would speak to her after class, he'd pay special attention to her studies. And I thought this was weird. So I thought I'll do my role as a big sister and I'll talk to her about this. And she told me that he was only doing this because she was the best student in his class. Yeah, hon, I bet you were. So only a few months into dating, they announced that they were in fact engaged. So I thought, well, if Amy's not going to listen to me about how weird it is, I'll go to my parents. I was like, hello, parents. Do you not think this age difference is a little bit strange? They didn't want to hear it. So at that point, I resorted back to plan A and went back to speak to Amy about it. And she just said that she is so happy and that she's really in love with him. We live in this really small town, right? And everyone in the community is supporting this marriage. We live in this tight little community, right? And everybody in this town is supporting this marriage. Here is the update. The marriage has happened, people. I contemplated not going to the ceremony. I really did not want to go, but I didn't want to upset my little sister, so reluctantly I went. And my blood was boiling throughout the whole entire thing. Everyone was so congratulatory of them. They were all making a fuss and I couldn't even look Steve in the face. I was so angry. So I've now decided that I need to get out of this town. I managed to get some job interviews out of town lined up, so I'm heading out of the city tomorrow. I spoke to my parents about it yet again and they just said that my sister getting married to a man with a stable career and a good job is the best thing that could have ever happened to her. And I just don't understand how everyone around them can't see that he is taking the mick out of my little sister. I told my sister that even though I'm going to be out of town, she can contact me under any circumstances whenever she might need me. So I even bought her a phone so that she could speak to me regularly because she didn't have one. My sister always had the biggest dreams to go on to be someone special who'd make the biggest difference in the world. But now this man is literally forcing her to be a housewife. I'm hoping that one day she'll wake up and realise what's happened and I'm going to be there to support her when that day comes. And just for some more context, this is a man that has taught my sister since she was 16. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister she's ridiculous for divorcing her husband over a TikTok prank? So my sister, who we'll call Amy, was married to a guy who we'll call Steve for about 3 years. This was until about 2 months ago when they separated over this prank that he pulled. I had always thought he was a really nice guy. He was super funny, nice to be around. And that is kind of why I think this whole thing is just so ridiculous over something that was just a mistake. So here's what happened. So Steve, whose job is on TikTok, decided he was going to pull a prank on Amy's 15-year-old son. Now, I won't go too much into what the prank was, but it ended up in my nephew falling and banging his head. And that is the whole reason she's decided to separate from him. He was actually rushed into hospital and is now being treated for brain damage. He now struggles to eat because he's got impaired motor control, and bless him, he even has a very, very limited speech. It's now got to the point where if you ask him something, he'll just stare at you. It's gotten to the point where my sister will have to kneel down next to him and very calmly and quietly ask him what he needs to get him to respond. He's become such an angry, angry kid. And now all I see when I look at him is his 7-year-old self just masquerading in his 15-year-old body. Now, these symptoms are of course absolutely awful and possibly permanent. But I keep saying it was just a mistake on behalf of Steve. I believe that divorce is way too much of a harsh punishment for this mistake. And instead, they should have just negotiated boundaries and disallowed TikTok in the house or something along those lines. Because her husband was the only one using TikTok in the house. I've been trying to keep the decision of the divorce to myself, but I am secretly mourning the loss of my brother-in-law. However, yesterday I went over and the topic of the incident came up. So I told her exactly what I thought. I said, I think you're being ridiculous over just a mistake. I told her that it might be worth considering her options here because clearly this one was so emotionally driven. But my sister was not happy about this. Amy said that I was free to marry him because he'd be free soon. And my mother also interjected at that point. And despite liking my brother-in-law before, my mum turned around and said that I have no say in what my sister does with her life. And she then said that my precious brother-in-law ruined my nephew's life with his incompetence. So at that point, I yelled at them and said, this society's inability to forgive mistakes is the reason we're all in this mess. They eventually kicked me out when the argument went on for longer than 10 minutes or so. Do you know what? I thought I was being exceptionally reasonable here. However, my boyfriend is also on their side. So what do you think? Am I the arsehole? I'm going to add my comments in here because I never get involved in the drama and I have opinions on this video. So the writer says that it was just a mistake, but I'm sorry, a mistake is getting someone the wrong type of Pepsi Max, not causing them to have a brain damage. And I think she should take her sister's advice and marry him because she is clearly in love with Steve. My sister ruined my relationship, so I watched her world fall apart. Story time! So my sister hates me. We'll call her Amy, and she is the golden child of our family. She was one of those kids that was literally good at everything. Dancing, singing, baking, acting, you name it. She was ace in it. And she loved to rub it in my face that she was always better than me. She was constantly 2 steps ahead of me. She used to tell me how everyone loved her more than they loved me. Over the years, I just became her validation punching bag. She just thinks her life is this huge ass survival game where she's the star player. And everyone around her are just her little sidekicks in the game. If I got a B and she got an A, it was the perfect opportunity for her to show how much better she was than me. Even marrying the only good guy in the village was a absolute trophy moment for her, and he was my first love. I'd always dreamed of us both getting away from this shithole and moving away to Spain together. As Amy realised that I really liked Jane, she wanted him at whatever cost, and she ultimately got him. He fell in love with her the same way all of my family did. So unfortunately, Jake passed away. Amy was obviously heartbroken, but so was I too. But I had to put up this consoling front for my sister. And being completely honest, seeing how heartbroken she was over Jake's death made us grow closer together. To make sure she wasn't alone, I invited her to live with me and my boyfriend Mike for a few days. Mike and I had been with each other for about 2 years at this point. So Mike and I had just arranged a Valentine's trip to Hawaii together. And I really didn't want to leave Amy on her own since she was grieving so much. I convinced Mike to let Amy tag along on our Hawaii trip. But 4 days before the trip, I came home early. I saw Mike and Amy in my bed together. And instead of giving me an explanation as to what the hell was going on, Mike broke up with me there and then. And I could just see the smirk on Amy's face in that moment. And 2 days later, I saw on Mike's Facebook that they were in a relationship together. And in her eyes, she was top of the leaderboard again. Her and Mike went on that Valentine's trip to Hawaii together. So I decided to make a little trip of my own. So remember when I said I wanted to move to Spain with Jake? So I decided to go on a road trip to Spain. I am not alone. I did a little stop at Amy's house before I left. On this trip, I have the company of my first love sitting in the passenger seat next to me. For the first time in my life, I was at the top of the leaderboard. Taking your sister's dead husband has to top hooking up with your sister's boyfriend, right?